My hat! Alright, so to save some time, I went ahead and removed the original pull start. Now it's just 4 screws, so everything's there. First thing you want to see is this little lever here, the position that it's in. Now, some vehicles will require it to be in a different angle, but because we're installing a pull start, we need to make sure it's in the correct angle, or because this is going into a Revo, it just points straight down. So to be honest, I'm just going to remove it. So there's just a little compressor screw right there. So if you see that little set screw, just loosen that screw out, and that will remove. So I'm actually going to be using the one on the Revo, and you will see why shortly. Once that is there, I'm going to take these screws. You will only need 3 screws for the electric start. So it'll be top right, bottom left. And at this point, I will go ahead and just put a little bit of thread lock on each one. And do not forget to put some thread lock on here. And the reason why is this is going to be directly on your engine. So there's going to be quite a bit of vibration. And your engine's just going to go in there. That's it. Now I need my 2mm. So again, it's just 4 screws. There isn't a 4th one. So this is something that you can do, or if you buy an engine, this is what you can do. You can either install the pull start, or if you had a pull start and you want to go to the electric start, I prefer the electric start. It is heavier though, so if you're racing, you're probably going to do a pull start. It's much lighter, unless you have a start-top box. But just these 3 screws, and this is it. Now I'm finishing up, tightening down. Now it's just snug, do not over-tighten, you can damage the plastic housing here for the electric start. And there. Alright, so now this is ready to be installed in our Revo. So our Revo, it's going to be similar to the Slayer, just because of the chassis and the way the engine mounts, but we are going to be replacing this engine. Now, this engine is brand new, the whole truck is brand new. The reason why I'm replacing this engine is very simple. I have this one just lying about, it's the same type of engine, 3.3, TRX 3.3. This one's broken in 5 tanks. That's it. This is brand new. Just going to remove this and store it. That's the reason why. Now, you have to be careful about 4 different wires. You're going to have this blue wire that's going to go to the glow plug. Then you have the red and the black. Now, your starter motor is going to be marked. So red goes here, black goes there. Do not reverse these. So make sure you install them correctly. So the top is the red, bottom is ground. And then you're going to have the grounding wire for the glow plug, which is the yellow wire. And the yellow wire is going to be down there in one of the screws for the motor mount. So keep that in mind. It's going to be, I believe it's the front one. To be honest, it doesn't matter where you mount it. So here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove this. Just going to loosen this from the current carburetor. That way I can install it on this other engine. Now I'm trying to just remove it without dropping the set screw, and it's not cooperating. So I'm just going to remove the entire thing, leave it over here. Air filter is just going to pull out. Doesn't want to. Just going to remove the air cleaner from there, and that's it. Now I can install this on here now with a new motor, and it's just going to go in there, and that's it. So we'll leave that to the side. All right, so in order to remove the engine, now most of you are probably going to do this after your engine's no longer running. I'm doing it now. The left screw, I am going to use the stock Allen wrench, the one that comes with the kit, because it has, it's a ball. That's the reason why, because it has to go slightly at an angle, whereas if I use the regular driver, I'm afraid I may not be grabbing enough of the surface area, and then I'll ruin the screw. That's my fear. But the other one, let's see, will this work? I'm going to use it for the other one too. Yeah, I'm going to use it for the other one as well. So let's see. So I'll just back this one out, then I'll go over here to the other one. I really dislike using Allen wrenches. I mean, I like hex screws, just not Allen wrenches. One thing that you could do is you could remove this mount, which I attempted just so I can avoid using the wrench. But for now, I think I'm just going to use a set of pliers and let's see how this goes from there. Right. You know what? Just going to remove the engine. Let's do that instead. Remove the engine, I'll worry about it later. So these heat sinks have these cutouts right here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the ones that matter. If you stick your driver through there, that will give you access to the screws that holds the engine down into the motor mount. So here, taking this, there's one. And remember, the motor has magnets. I mean, electric motors have magnets, surprise. So don't be surprised if the screws are attracted to the motor housing. So these 2 engine screws, I think that one did. These 2 engine screws are out. And because I don't want to stick my head under the camera, I'm going to go ahead and move this way. I'm just going to put my driver through here. And there it is. And this is where the yellow wire is. So when you reassemble, just make sure that you put the yellow wire in the screw. It'll be easier before you bolt it down. All right, that one is loose. I'm just going to leave it there. And there's the next one. And that is it. Now, I'm not removing the base, and the reason why is because everything's already meshed. So I'm hoping the pinion gear on the other engine is the same. Then I don't have to worry about meshing anything. Now, the blue wire, just going to turn it, move it up and over this little plastic guard, and then I'm just going to pull out. And that is it. So this one, this is very straightforward, very easy. And could cut that and then put a new one in, or you could do that. That was easy. I wasn't expecting it to come out that easy. Probably won't go back in. All right, so there's one of the screws. All right, at this point, I have to remove that little piece there for the carburetor, little ball, and now I'm, and take the tubing off. Go ahead and remove the tubing from the carburetor, which we will just be pulling out. But let me disconnect the red wire from the motor and the black motor. So I'm doing the wires first. And now that that's loose, now I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the tubing. Now remember the Revo, just like this layer, they come with full telemetry. So one of the things that you want to be careful here, let me just remove this, is the temperature wire. So the temperature wire goes at the very bottom of the heatsink. And there's this little piece of tubing. You're just going to slide this off. Well, slide it back. And that will give you slack on the telemetry wire. Well, the the temperature sending, this sending wire. And here we go. And let's see, what else do we have here? Ah, this didn't come all the way out. That's what happened. All right, so let's go ahead and remove it. Actually, it just slid in further. This here, this is what measures your RPMs, I believe. And that is it. So the engine is out. So from this engine, if this engine were gone and the carburetor were fine, you'd probably reuse the carburetor. But I'm just going to leave this here. I know that carburetor works. But I do need this rear part for the resonator. And for this one, it's just the 2 screws back here, but now I have access to this one, much easier access. I'll go ahead and remove this. And this is already loose. That's why I'm removing this one completely. If not, I would have broken one loose, broken the other one loose, and then started backing them out. I'm wondering if I can just use this driver. Yes, I can. See, out here I can just use the driver instead of the Allen wrench. Almost. There it is. All right, perfect. So there's this engine. So brand new engine. I'm just going to store it. I'm hoping, like I said, oops. There we go. I need this. I could have just left the other one on. I'll just use the old one. Leave the new one on here. So I'm hoping these are the same, and they are not. So I'm going to go ahead and swap them out. All right. Not a big deal, except for I have to deal with E-clips now. So let me get the truck out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and swap these out after I put this back in. So when you're placing these, notice this doesn't have a little lip there. This one does. That's the outer part. I mean, you will quickly realize that. So I'm just going to set this in here. Set this in there. And that is that. All right. So at this point, I'm going to need my set of pliers, and I'm going to use my pick for this actually. I'm just going to pull on the E-clip. There it is. Try not to use them. And when you remove this, see that little washer? There's that washer, there's a bearing. I'm going to flip this carefully. I guess I'm not. I'm just going to go up here. Let me remove this little washer first. It's getting stuck in there right on that little area where the E-clip locks. Maybe if I set it and then move it up. There we go. Okay, that's easier. All right, perfect. So we have the shoes right there. That's your clutch. And now we're going to go to this one over here. Remove the E-clip. Again, I'm just using my pick. You can use a flathead. That's fine. Turn this. Huh, this one isn't cooperating like the other one did. Doesn't want to be replaced, that's probably why. Alright, there we go. Save that. Let's try not to lose it, and perfect. Alright, and there's the clutch. Again, I mean, this is good. So what you have in here is you have this spring. See, it just hooks there. So it's just a long spring and it hooks here. So in order to remove these, let's just say you want to replace the clutch, you would remove this bearing here, and then you would just lift up. That spring is holding the shoes together. Now, after this starts spinning, what would happen is these shoes would actually open up. I'm trying to, I don't want to break a nail, but anyway, right here, as you can see, this will just open up. So that will make would make contact with the drum here and create friction, as you can see. I've run this one. And that's what happens. So now I'm going to put this engine over here. I'm going to grab this. This one's almost new, so I'm going to leave this bearing in here. And now I'm just going to drop this little bell in there. And just take this washer over here. I'm curious why it's not sliding in. Let's see. Okay, that feels fine. Clutch should be the same. Let me just push the bearing out. I'll install it afterwards. Is it a different bearing? What's going on? It's set in here easily. And why is it not sitting? Alright, those are the same height. I'm not sure what the problem is. Not quite sure. Let me remove this. Oh, different size bearings? Possibly. Let me remove the other bearing. Oh, wow. They are different bearings ever so slightly. So I will be using the bearing that came in that engine. There we go. And I'll drop this one in, and then I'll put the little shim in here. Just make sure it sits properly. So what's happening here is it wants to go into that little groove where the E-clip is going to sit. There we go. All right, so now I will just sit the E-clip. I'm just going to use the pliers. And now I'm just checking to make sure it's sat properly, and it is sat. And these, I can just go ahead and save, and I could just put it on the new one for now, which I will. Why not? Alright, so again, make sure this washer is seating properly. Place the E-clip, and then just use your pliers and just slide it in. That's all you have to do. I think it was easier the first time. There. Right, so that's the new engine. This is going to go into storage. And that is it. So we have our engine here, and we are ready to install. Now, I know this already had thread lock, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it and just add some fresh thread lock to it. I do not want this coming loose. I've not had one come loose in the middle of a run yet, and I do not want it to be the first time. So let's see. Go ahead and place this here. There. All right, perfect. And this will go in there. And I'll tighten it once it's on the truck. Now, I do want to do the exhaust first. The exhaust, this goes in here. Let's see. All right. So it'll be bottom and top. Is that correct, or is it top and bottom? So there's 4 screws, and I have forgotten where it goes. So let me just grab the truck. It's just the engine sits on an angle in this vehicle. Oh, I guess I can do, I don't want to install everything else yet. Let's see, let me just mock it up and see how this goes. Really, you think? Yes. Yes, I do. Alright, so it's going to be bottom top. Alright, so because it's bottom top, that is there. And let me just apply just a smidge of thread lock, not too much. Now I'll do the other one. I'll do the same, just a bit. Now, a quick note about this bottom screw. In order for you to place it in, this has to be somewhat loose, or else because of this bend, you won't be able to place the screw in there. Keep that in mind. But here we go. Alright, so that one's close. Let's go ahead and bring this one close as well. And I do like this engine, the 3.3 engine. Alright. And again, snug, do not over tighten this for a variety of reasons. One, you can damage the O-ring, and then you won't have a good seal. And two, you can strip the aluminum. That being said, at this point, oops, go ahead and place this. Let's see, where did this one go? This one went on top over here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Doesn't look like these had thread lock, which is all fine. It's probably something to do with the little washers that the screws have. That's a possibility. But now I'm going to start with the telemetry components, and I'm going to begin with this bottom one. The reason why I'm starting with the bottom one is so I can set it. Alright, so I'm going to place this screw in here and place it there. Good. So now I need to just wiggle the motor in. And then once it's about level, oh, that's what I forgot. Right. So this little thing here on the carburetor, make sure that you aim it and you stick it in that hole, right in that lever so that it connects. Well, oh, actually it just clips on, so go forward and then in. So it looks like a fork, so it's going to go in like this. Just go forward and then bring it in, and it will sit there. Remember that the carburetor goes left and right, right? Right, so that's already in there. Now, I need to just move the engine forward, but I need to make sure that I don't damage any of the wires. So just don't run it forward. Don't get too excited, because you can see these wires here, this little ribbon. So I need to make sure that goes over the shock mount. And if things generally don't want to go in, there's probably a reason why they're not fitting. So don't force something to fit if it doesn't want to fit in. Now I need to put this little tie strap. If you ended up cutting the tie strap, then don't worry about it, because you'd be using a new one. But I'm going to try to reuse that one. This has never been run. And this is not working. I think I'm going to use the pick and just stick it in there. All right. No. This little silicone coupler isn't cooperating. I don't want to bend the exhaust manifold. Just trying to lift gently, not prying. I also don't want to damage the silicone. Is it? Is it? All right, almost there. Just sticking the driver in there, just trying to move the silicone. Right, so that's sort of what I'm working with right now. There we go. So all I did was stretch it out, just stretch it out, and then eventually just dropped in place. All right, so I'll worry about this after. Right now, I actually want to get the motor bolted in. Let me do that, and then I'll tell you what to do with the carburetor. All right, so one of the screws is already in there, so that's going to be the first one I'm going to worry about. It should be a 2.5 millimeter driver. It was a 2.5. Is it in a hole? I believe it is. No, it's not. We'll start with the outer ones. No, that should be it. Why am I not? Right, well, let me go with these outer ones first. So that one is in. I'm not going to tighten it the whole way. Right there, driver's up. And I'm going to go for this one over here. So what I'm going to do is just going to grab these pliers, set the screw in. Problem is the magnet, the motor magnet. So I'm just holding it. And then I'm going to stick my driver in. That's the way I'm going to drive it. So just so you can see what I was doing is I just grabbed the screw, I held it, and then I just put the driver, and then once the driver was there, I started driving the screw in. So I'm just going to bring those there. I'm not going to tighten them. I'm not even going to snug them up. I'm going to wait until the inside two screws are in, and then I will snug it up. So that being said, let me go back to this one now. Should be easier. It should be lined up. All right. There we go. And now I'm going to grab this screw and I'm going to send it through this little eye for the yellow wire. The yellow wire is going to go in this screw, and now I'm going to go and screw this in. Now I'm going to use this other driver just to push the wire away from the shock. Don't want it close there. Pushing away, but I need to make sure it doesn't hit the flywheel or anything else, and it should be fine. All right. stick my head into the camera. All right, so tighten that one a bit. I'm going to go to this one. It's pretty close. And then this one right over here. Pretty close. And this is going to be the first one. So I'm in the left back screw. That's the first one I'm going to tighten. So that one's tight. Now I'm going to go front right, and then back right. And do not over tighten these. Again, just need to be snug. You're going into aluminum, so don't want to strip anything. All right. And that is that. Now I can go ahead and put this wire here. This is for the temperature. This is the sending unit for the temperature. Let me get these wires out of the way. And this is going to go all the way. So on the heat sink, let me show you on this other motor. It's going to go right here. Right on the very last. So this is the heat sink right in there. All right, good. So now, next thing to do is I'm going to connect the fuel line to the carburetor. Just make sure this is all the way in. So, is it visible? Right in there, not really. But it is in there. All right. At this point, go ahead and connect the blue wire. And the blue wire is just going to go in the glow plug, and this will be easier with pliers. Actually, needle nose would be easier, but it just goes on top. Do I really need that? Let's see if I can get it in the correct place. It'd be nice if this wire were just a little longer. But it is not. Alright, so just grab the pliers. Alright, I really dislike this wire right now. I think it's a different size glow plug. That's the reason why. All right, I'll deal with the glow plug later. I think that top portion of the glow plug, oh, it is a different size. All right, so this is not the stock glow plug. This one is, and this is smaller. That's the reason why I can't get it in there. So I'm just going to leave this out. That's fine. I'll just use the glow plug starter. I have one. So not a big deal. But I will be connecting these. So this over here, I'm going to grab these wires. And I don't like the fact that these wires are there. I'm going to send them over here. All right, there we go. That is better. And again, remember the black wire goes on the bottom one. Probably easier without the filter. Well, let's see. There. Not a big deal. And here goes the red one. So red is the top. You need little hands for this. Can't really grab it, there's not enough space. But again, not a big deal. Once you line it up, it'll work. There, perfect. And all right, so we have both our ground and our positive for the motor. That's great. Now we have to deal with the carburetor. So carburetor, very important, do not forget. Let's see. So you want to put your driver and first kind of move it down. So right now the needle is, okay, so that fork, say the fork is here, the needle is like this. So I just need to roll it over, set it here, tighten it so that it can push the carburetor in and out. And that is what I'm working on. And the wire is actually in my way, so I may disconnect the ground wire while I do this. Well, maybe not. All right, good. It's in there. I'm going to use this other driver just to hold it. And now I'm going to tighten. And just push it, make sure it's all the way in. All right, good. It is all the way in. All right. There we go. And again, do not over tighten. So I'm manually operating this. So, I mean, this is all I'm doing. I'm just pulling on the lever and I'm just checking, making sure that the carburetor is opening freely and closing, and it certainly is. So I'm just going to set the filter, and that is it. Now, if I wanted this wire here, I mean, you don't need to connect the yellow if this isn't connected. This is for the glow plug. Now, the glow plug that I'm using is actually a different glow plug. It's not the factory glow plug, and the reason why is because the factory glow plugs, well, it went out. That's the reason why. So if, but let me swap it back, but I'm going to show you the difference between these. This is an OS glow plug. So you just need an 8mm driver. So this is a new glow plug. Now my motor is installed. I'm just giving you some additional information here. Let me try to see if I can reuse this now. Tie strap. And it looks like I may be able to, yes, perfect. All right, so there it is. I was able to reuse the tie strap. All right. Let's go ahead and remove this one. I'm going to do it this way so that little copper washer comes out. That's your seal. If you don't have a good seal here, your engine's going to stall. All right, perfect. So, well, it stayed in there, so a little copper washer's in there. Not a big deal. I just threw the clip. All right. So, this is the OS. And this is the stock one. That's the reason why. So you see the difference. So this is the OS. This is the stock. I may put the stock one in there. But the stock ones, they don't last as long as OS. So I think OS, well, I don't know. Maybe not. So I'll put the stock one in, see how long that lasts. And then I'll just keep the OS as a spare, because I want to try the Easy Start system. that's the reason why. So, that being said, go ahead and remove that washer. Can't really see. And there. Right, so I'll go ahead and remove this one and go ahead and install. Do not put thread lock or anything on this. Don't need it. You shouldn't put any on there. Alright, so that is it. This is very important. Make sure it's snug. Do not over tighten. The reason why is you can strip the threads on there and you're going to damage the heatsink. But here we go. So this should go in easily now. Hopefully, if I can aim. And apparently I cannot. Oh, there it is. Ah, need little fingers. Nope. All right, perfect. All right, so that is on there. And I'm just going to run it here. And originally it was right underneath this. I don't see the need of running it underneath. But that is it. So the installation is complete. I am going to keep this globe plug handy just in case that one goes out. It probably will go out. But that is it. So the installation is complete. And now it's very easy. If you move it forward, nothing should happen. But if you move it back, you can't really see it, but you can probably hear that it's spinning it, grabbing it. Actually, forward moves it too. Nope, not always. There's a delay. But just spinning it, checking it. But again, that was stock, so everything should be fine. If you do have to mess around with the mesh, then you adjust it here. See this screw? So you have that screw right in there. Oh, you can't really see the camera. This one right over here. So then you can move the engine toward or away the spur. But other than that, it's good here. Something else that you can do is if you take a lot, remove the air cleaner, put a piece of paper through there, run it in, and then kind of see. But other than that, this is good to go. So the engine installation is complete here on the Revo, and I can't wait to run this thing. I mean, this thing looks awesome. Thank you so much for watching.